We'll start the meeting. Welcome to our March 25th American Rescue Plan Committee meeting. And let's first establish a quorum, please. I believe that John is virtual. John, are you there?
He's not virtual.
Okay, John is not available yet. Scott?
Here.
Troy?
Here.
Misha? Yes. Thank you. Make sure your mics are on. What'd you say, Chris?
The John's muted. I don't know if that's part of it.
He's got to show up on the recording as well, visually.
Only when voting, but yeah, I will go check on his computer.
Okay. So right now, well, we don't have John yet, but we do have a quorum. Well, Chris will let us know when John is there. I would like to announce a change to the agenda. We're going to move to include the March 11 meeting minutes, which are in front of you. Everyone should have had a chance to review those. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Misha. All right, we'll take a vote on those. Scott?
Yes.
Misha? Troy?
Yes.
And do we have John? John is still not there. Okay, and I say yes. The minutes from March 11th are approved. Thank you, Scott, for drafting those.
You're welcome.
And let's see. I'm hoping we can get John on here soon. And do we have Dustin on the phone as well?
I am on now, Cindy.
Thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. And for anyone watching, Dustin is our legal counsel from Barnes & Thornburg, who has been very helpful with us staying legal and having our documents be legal. One of the first things I'd like to do is take our nominations for the committee to evaluate, score the application for nonprofit requests. We had discussed the need, or at least the desire, to take out any political kind of conflicts, if you will, of interest in terms of scoring these applications. The people who will be nominated to score these will not be making the decision on actual funding. That will be handled at council. And so this will be purely for evaluating the applications based on the rubric that we've also established and approved at our last meeting. So, do we have nominations for this committee?
You want me one at a time or what? Or
Yeah, we don't have like a slate in front of us,
Okay.
so if you'd like to.
I'll nominate Michael Good. He's past president of WYSI.
Does Michael Good have any potential or perceived conflicts of interest in doing this?
I don't think so. I mean, he, as far as I know, I mean, I asked him. I mean, he's not political. So I mean, I think he just, he was in charge of WYSI, and I thought he would know a lot of the not-for-profits, I guess. So
Is he familiar with what the requirements would be to do this?
yeah, I went through it with him. Each of the three that I'm going to mention, I went through the requirements, each of the requirements that are needed.
Okay.
So, and I told him they're just grading for points.
Mm-hmm. And did you say you had others, or just?
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
I nominate Aaron McClure.
Aaron?
Aaron McClure.
Can you spell that, Troy?
MC. I think it's L-U-R-E or M-C-C-L-U-R-E.
Oh, like the McClure family, McClure Fuel?
No, his kids graduate. Well, the oldest one's a senior at Westfield. His daughter's a senior at Taylor University. He has no political affiliation with anyone that I'm aware of.
And is he also aware of the need to not have any potential real or perceived conflicts of
Yeah,
interest?
I don't think he's on a board of any not-for-profits at this point. And I don't think Michael Good is either at this point. I think he's just past president. And I don't think any of these three, and my last one is John Dart. I mean, I know John's a friend of Andy's, but I don't think that's a problem either. I mean, John Dart, D-A-R-T-T, Jon. He was a senior VP of sales at Delta Faucet, retired. He does live in my neighborhood. John Dart does, but I don't think that's a conflict.
And he is also aware of the potential time commitment and what is involved?
Yeah, I told him they'd just be grading these things, so, I mean, it'd be like getting a list of them, and you just grade them and submit them, and then they'd be tallied. I mean, which I would presume that way there's, it's just and then, we look at those, so it's a third eye or something, or second eye, whatever.
Okay. Just so we know, out of these three that you are proposing, is there one that stands out as a first pick for you?
I think they'd all be good.
Okay.
How many are we appointing? Did we ever say?
Three,
3 total?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have your three, Troy, that you would like. Scott, can you tell me who your?
Yeah, I would nominate Daniel Carey Tolan from the Township Trustee's Office due to her interaction with all non-for-profits, quite frankly, in the Westfield area. And then I would also nominate Michelle McConnell, who's on the board for IU Health, and also has deep familiarity with the non-for-profit community. And neither of them are conflicted.
Does Danielle serve on any other boards or nonprofits?
No, she doesn't. No, neither does Michelle.
Okay. I have also talked with one of our, did someone just say something?
No, it keeps doing that.
Oh, sorry.
It's the mics.
I actually spoke with our own John Rogers here, and while he's in with the administration, he's not currently serving any nonprofit boards and does not seem to have any real or perceived conflicts of interest other than being part of the administration, which I don't think is a conflict of interest in this regard. He has been willing to devote the time he has said, so that is one that I have. Also, David Schmitz, who serves on our Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, formerly on the board with WYSI, not currently, and he's an attorney, very analytical. I appreciate his thoughtful approach to things. So I also offer up David Schmitz. He's not available primarily till after April 15th, but given our initial deadline submission is April 15th, I didn't know that that would be a hindrance necessarily.
I like Dave. Dave's a nice guy.
Okay. Misha, do you have anyone you'd like to add?
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay. Is John with us yet?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't have any nominees.
you do not, but you are one of them. If you didn't hear, I just put you out there.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, John. We get to see you on camera now, too. Lovely. All right. So, would you like to have further discussion on these?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would have someone from the administration, and John, this is not personal. I mean, just as the same as if we're not going to grade them ourselves, which I don't know why we wouldn't, truthfully. But if we're going to have a subcommittee, I don't know that we should have anyone from the administration or anyone that's affiliated with each of us in some capacity in terms of our election or electability. So that's just my personal opinion. For instance, nothing against Danielle Tolan, but Scott, but I think she has a vast conflict of interest because she's associated with your campaign and
She's not associated with my
as
campaign.
mayor. Scott, you told me personally to my face that she was going to be your chief of staff if you were elected mayor.
That's not true, Troy.
That is absolutely true. You told me directly to my face.
All right.
Face to face. That's what you told me.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, again, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just, if we're going to do that, why not just make it,
Quite frankly, I don't have any skin in the game on any non-for-profits. At the end of the day, I just wanted people who had familiarities with non-for-profits and what they do in our community. So I sought after people who I thought had knowledge. Whether or not we pick Danielle or anybody is really not important. I just want to make sure we have thoughtful people who understand what they do in our community and why it's important to make sure this money is spread in a proper way.
All right. I'm going to make a recommendation, and you guys can all discuss it. I'm going to recommend Michael Good, David Schmitz, and Michelle McConnell.
I'd second that.
I don't know if I can talk, but I just wanted to say that Danielle Quorum is an ex officio on the assistance board. So I don't know if there's anything.
She'd be conflicted in, yep.
At this point, given the fact that there were concerns over any conflict of interest, even though this is simply scoring these applications, I still did not want any issues there. And so if there could be agreement on a set of individuals that was not at all a conflict, that would be my option.
I agree.
And so I'm thinking with these folks that I put forward, I think that there can be agreement there.
so you're saying Dave Schmitz, Michael Good, and, Michelle someone?
Michelle McConnell.
Michelle McConnell?
That way, at least the three counselors up here have chosen someone they believe to not have a conflict of interest, and no one has raised an issue with those nominees. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yes, because I
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I made the motion to put these people forward.
have no idea.
I seconded it.
Okay, and then, so we have a motion and a second. I will take a vote. Scott?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Misha?
Yes.
Me, and that's a yes. All right, so our basically subcommittee that will be evaluating and scoring these applications for nonprofit submittals would be Michael Good, David Schmitz, and Michelle McConnell. I appreciate their service in advance. And I do have, for their interest, if they want it, and it's something we should go through to make sure there is no real or perceived conflict of interest, the state's disclosure statement, which I don't anticipate them needing, but we'll have to make sure that that is good to go and that they don't have conflicts. Okay. So thank you, everybody. And again, thank you for those people. We'll be notifying you and be potentially working with you and our attorney if there's any questions in terms of how you are to score these.
So Cindy, just for clarification, are we, each of us have one nomination on the committee, so we each responsible for our nominated person with this conflict, or is that going to go from somebody specifically?
We won't necessarily need, this is if there was a conflict. So this is typically the form that you would have to submit if there was a conflict of interest. And again, I don't foresee there being a need, but this is just helpful to go through to ensure that there's not
So
a
do you want,
conflict of interest.
exactly, so do you want each one of us to reach out to our nominee with this form, or?
Yes,
is that
or at
gonna
least
happen?
talk it through with them and make sure that there's nothing on there that would be a problem.
I will make sure forward that this form to you, each of you. The, online, do you want to post online or you want to give it to you?
Hey, Misha, we can't hear you. Are you talking into the mic?
Turn your mic on.
I did on it. It's Chris, it's you. I turn it on.
You gotta like stick your mouth up on there. Man. You gotta act like you're a rock singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You can
your
move it down,
problem.
it's movable.
Okay, do you want me email to you or each members, or do you want to be Chris to upload in the website? This one.
Actually, if you could post it to the website, that way it's available
Yeah,
for
okay,
everybody.
Chris, I'm gonna send it to you so you can put it in upload.
All three of these people, they're
Sounds
all
good,
Westfield
thank you.
residents, correct? All three of these people?
Yes,
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Washington Township, Westfield.
okay.
Thank you, Chris. Did you hear me?
Yep, I heard you. We're good. Thank you.
All right, moving right along. As we discussed when we first approved our ARPA plan that went through the city council process, we knew that it was going to be dynamic and that it would be changing and refined and provided more specifics. And we now have a bit more information in terms of the projects and the different things that we are intending to do. There was discussion at the last meeting about the total amount to be made available to our nonprofits out of this funding. And so we have further refined that in this draft plan to be $500,000. And again, that's not something that's been voted on by this committee. It was discussed, but we did not vote on it. And that is primarily one of the biggest changes in the plan, that and the revenue reduction way we're going about a lot of our disbursement. And again, if you recall, Public Works is getting a fair part of that. They're getting their full 40%, if I'm not mistaken. This does leave some money for other things as we move forward with our second disbursement in May. I did not want to discuss the second disbursement in May yet because we are just going through this specific plan right now.
Hey Cindy,
Yes,
just real quick, I mean, do we need to take this to the actual council? To
yes.
approve?
So procedurally, I wanted to go over this today and see if we had approval from the committee on this draft. If there is, then the, we will be taking this to council for their approval. It will get introduced Monday.
Yes, maybe you introduce it as and transfer the fund, because we are right now sitting in the admin service, the total amount, so you can introduce the disbursement or as a transfer to another account.
Well, we don't have that part. This is just the plan. So in terms of doing the actual transfers and the appropriation, that's going to come after this.
Sorry about that, my nose is.
Unless you need,
So cold
You
here, I gotta
are.
blow my nose.
so yes, we would hopefully get approval from the committee on this draft plan. At our committee meeting today, introduced at council Monday, and approved at our first council meeting in April. And one of the reasons this was we want to get this done now is that we have a reporting requirement to the Treasury April 30th. And so I wanted to make sure that we were at least this far along when we get our reporting done for Treasury. So Dustin, you're on the phone, and you drafted a lot of this, so obviously with input from us. Can you just walk us through?
Yeah, happy to. So when you looking at the the pieces. Obviously, you have your four eligibility criteria under the American Rescue Plan Act that you can expend funds under. And as the committee has been discussing the various projects that the committee would like to pursue, I've been listening and working with Cindy to make sure that we get the right numbers into each of those categories. So the breakdown that you see in the plan, and of course the resolution just sort of recites that the American Rescue Plan Act exists and that the committee created a plan and that you're proposing an amendment. But the plan text itself, it walks through first. Category 1, which is responding to the negative economic impacts of COVID-19 and its and public health impacts as well. And in that category, the eligible use that the council or that the committee is pursuing is the nonprofit grant program. That program falls within the enumerated uses in that first category. And so I've listed the $500,000 for the nonprofit grant program in that category. Second is premium pay, and the committee previously approved the plan contained money for, and the council has made motion or sort of actually put money out on a premium pay program, and so the number in that category was just corrected to the exact amount of money that was expended on the premium pay program. That's the only change that's there. And then you'll notice that the revenue loss number is quite large, and that the sewer and water and broadband infrastructure category has been removed from the plan. And the reason that is the case, as we've discussed at previous meetings, under the Treasury's final rule, Westfield has the ability to take a standard allowance to be treated as if the full amount of its award was experienced as revenue loss for the city, creating the eligibility or the ability to spend up to the full amount of the award in the revenue loss category, providing for general government services. And Treasury intentionally sort of has put that in there to provide a great deal of flexibility, both in using the ARPA dollars and also, I think, to a certain extent, in simplifying capital projects. And so here, the reason that number is so large is because the committee has expressed the desire, and the council has agreed, and correct me if I'm wrong on that, Cindy, to pursue the project with the YMCA, and also there's a desire to do, it's about $2 million of expenditures on stormwater infrastructure in the downtown area that the committee had approved. And the easiest way to get both of those things done in terms of ARPA is actually to not spend the ARPA dollars on those projects in the form of ARPA dollars. So because you have the revenue loss ability to provide government services, you have the ability to expend the ARPA dollars on a whole bunch of what I sort of half jokingly call boring things, which would be the day-to-day operational costs of the city. So you can use the ARPA dollars on payroll for all of your city employees. You can use it for repairing potholes. You can use it for all manner of micro purchases, which is just any purchase up to $50,000. And essentially what we're going to do is create a stack of those costs that the city would normally pay out of its general fund, pay those costs using the ARPA dollars, because you're allowed to do that. It's super easy to report, and the burden in terms of compliance is as low as it's going to be when you use the funds in that way, and that will create the end result of that will be that there will be money in the general fund that was going to be dedicated to those purposes, and since those purposes have been taken care of using the ARPA funds, the monies in the general fund can be used for the Y project and the stormwater infrastructure project. And the benefit being that when you're expending those monies out of the general fund, because they have been made available by ARPA, the ARPA fund covering general fund sort of operation costs, is that you're then operating only under Indiana state law in terms of purchasing and public bidding and procurement, which is sort of simpler, and it's easier to not have to navigate both the federal regulations and the state's regulations. And also, the reporting burden just gets lower because when we're doing big capital projects, the compliance burden can be substantial using the federal dollars, but we have the ability to sort of use the federal dollars on easy to report things in a way that creates the ability to do the more complicated capital projects with general fund dollars where there's not that federal reporting piece. So it makes it easier for the clerk treasurer's office ultimately to kind of handle the reporting piece. It makes it easier for the folks who are doing the projects to kind of handle the procurement piece of it. And it gets done. It just requires this sort of additional step of using the ARPA funds on quote unquote boring expenditures first.
Hey, Leanne, what's up?
And that go ahead. Sorry.
What was that?
Did we lose Dustin?
No.
Oh, no, I'm still here. Sorry, I thought somebody else had started to talk, and I didn't want to talk
Something
over
wrong
anybody.
with it.
Yeah, there's something up there that says couldn't share system
I think that
audio.
was Chris talking, yeah.
Okay. Chris, are you there?
That's
I'm guessing Chris is
Yeah,
having-
it was my mic that was unmuted. I apologize.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure we're all good. Okay, go on, Dustin. I'm sorry.
No, that was kind of it. So those are the three things that are in the plan. The audit piece has not changed because that amount that the State Board of Accounts has generally recommended for as retained for your audit costs has not changed. So we didn't make any changes there, but those sort of explanations cover why the plan looks the way that it is and how it captures what was my understanding of kind of where the committee was on the range of projects that had been discussed and just providing some input on sort of the best way to identify the funds in your plan to allow the project to be done in a way that lowers compliance and reporting burdens as best as we can.
And this amount covers our current disbursement. We have not yet added, we received a supplemental of about $18,000. And that was because, Dustin, can you explain that better than I can?
So non-entitlement units receive their money from the state. And there is a process by which units had to apply to receive their funds from the state, essentially just checking the boxes that you had done the sort of pre-work to receive the funds. And Indiana had funds left over from units that did not claim them. And so they have made an additional disbursement to basically just spread the leftover money across all of the other non-entitlement units on a per capita basis. And so Westfield has received $18,000, which is its piece of that pool of yet unclaimed money.
Okay, and just administratively, just as a sidebar, we will work to appropriate that when we get our next disbursement, so we're not doing that separately. Just to know that that'll be accounted for there. And that's kosher for us to do, right, Dustin? Dustin? I believe it's kosher to do.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. Is there any discussion? Does anyone have questions or comments or want to see something changed?
Dustin is still there? Or now, are we expecting another supplemental?
With the second disbursement, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, second one, supplement, we get second payment comes, we get another, do we expect another payment beside the
Beside the second disbursement, you mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but,
because we didn't expect, when I checked, we didn't expect that this $18,000
right.
to be received, so.
Like maybe there's going to be another 18,000 or something like that.
Another $18,000 that will be,
I haven't received any communication from AIM as to that. So I don't know if anyone knows that yet. Because I think that would have been distributed information about that anyway, if it was known. But we can deal with that when we get our second disbursement and even further along if we need to do it that way. I will say with this approach with the revenue reduction, and just the way that that's going to work, I think it is going to place quite a bit of burden on the clerk treasurer's office in terms of how that works with our budget that was approved and where revenue is coming from and how that switches out. I think there's going to have to be some internal control there to monitor how we're dealing with that.
since this is under the corporate account, I mean, ARPA will be ordered by, or the quarterly finance committee will be again. I mean, at this point, everybody gonna see it. So it's, to me, that's all already enough. But we have not spent anything yet besides just a premium spend. So at this point, and so simply filing April federal file will be simple. So after that, and then we will be quarterly basis where we're gonna spend that until next disbursement will be arrived by May, right?
Yes.
And, those one will be probably budgeted next year, because this $4,900,000 was budgeted last year, 2022. So we cannot. That was included DRGF funds. Exact amount, penny to penny, was reported. So unless you want to be additional, I mean, that's a DRGF is not simply, adjust again. So until then, it's next year. The second money is a second disbursement will be included next budget.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Does that make sense to you?
That won't be that hard. No.
No, and maybe Finance Committee can just be making sure that we're handling that.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna put in the notes in the quarterly when we go through the budget versus actual anyway. So I mean, we'll just make a footnote on that, so the public can see it.
A disbursement comes, you're gonna see a quarterly revenue side. That suddenly you have
Right.
extra money comes in there. You will be,
Yeah,
Correct.
it should be pretty simple though.
yeah.
Okay, good. John, did you have any comments about this ARPA plan? John, are you there?
I think we lost
You
him.
muted, John.
No, I do not have any comments.
Okay, now again, this is, this will be going to full council for introduction Monday, and then approved hopefully at the April meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Troy, second by Scott. Scott?
Yes.
Troy?
Yes.
Misha?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And me, yes. All right, so this will be forwarded for introduction to the full council this coming Monday for their consideration. And we do need to establish some future meeting dates. Again, this was not due to be a full meeting today, but we did handle this work today. And so,
Do we want to wait until we get some of the applications? I know, for instance, like some people have already put some information in, I guess, maybe, but.
we have received one application right now.
Yeah. So do we want to wait? Do we want to set a date? I mean, to which those applications need to be done and then meet after that?
Well, the application deadline for that initial submittal is April 15th.
Oh, it is, okay, well,
It is.
then maybe May or I don't know, or at the end of April.
Well, we
because-
do have that reporting due at the end of April, and I would like to meet before we do that, and maybe even just get an update and see if there's any issues, problems, or whatever with the initial submissions. So maybe we should meet April 22nd?
Okay. That's fine with me.
Does that work for everybody?
2 o'clock, normal time?
Yes.
If I cannot make it, one of our co-treasurer first meeting.
That'll work.
Okay. So our next meeting, April 22nd, and shall we schedule a May meeting as well? May 20th?
Okay.
Does that work for everybody?
That's too far in the future for me, but I'm sure I could get on my calendar.
Okay, we'll schedule the second meeting then on May 20th, 2 o'clock PM here. So our next two meetings, April 22nd, 2 o'clock, May 20th at 2 o'clock. We'll work to get out agendas prior to that. In the background going on will be us working to make sure that our review committee administratively can handle this. Right now, the applications are will be getting emailed to the ARPA committee address. If everyone's okay with that, I don't mind creating a separate email to make sure that I can get those and send them on to that subcommittee, if that makes the most sense, unless anyone else wants a different system.
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep records of everything that's coming in, so,
Yeah.
okay. And so I'll need the contact information for these folks, so I can get them everything too, if that's okay. And do we have anything else that anybody wants to discuss today?
Nope.
Anyone from the audience want to say anything, just for fun, because you're here sitting in the cold?
Just for fun.
Well, can you come up, just so we have it on the recording? I know we didn't have a time for public comment, but again, it's cold and you guys are sitting here, so.
I got my coat on. So.
Yeah.
Ashley Knott with Westfield Education Foundation. I guess my question would be on timing as we're setting in the processes. Some of these needs that we have with the schools and with families are now. And so as it sounds like, payments might not come out till May or June, or do you have a preliminary idea of when we might be able to have an
I'm guessing it'll be
understanding?
at least that long right now.
Okay.
The scoring that will take place, once we have all the scoring, I mean, that's going to need to come back to the committee for recommendation to the council. And so we'll be on their schedule too. So nothing will get sent out until we actually have approval there.
And we're super appreciative of the funds. It's just planning, and as we go into summer with certain things, it's helpful to kind of know that timeline.
Right. And we do want to do this as expeditiously as possible. Trust me, I don't want this to take longer, but we do have processes that we follow, so.
Thank you.
Thank
Is this
you.
a two-step process for approval once the committee comes back? Do we have to do an introduction and a final vote, or is it all handled in one night? Does anybody know?
For what part?
For approving the actual allocation of funds? Yeah. I don't know either. That just impacts your timeline, so.
We'll have to get in touch with our attorneys to find out if that is something that is going to require two steps, or if we can't waive our rules, which we don't have rules, they're just state rules,
I
but,
don't know if there's anything to address this.
right. We'll get an answer on that.
It'll be before Christmas, Shannon, we heard you.
It's the government. I'm sure it'll take forever.
This is all new to us, so we're still all trying to figure it out together, aren't we?
But we process the premium payment pretty fast, so maybe we can push that. Let happen.
Yes.
It's up to you guys.
We'll do our best. We'll do our best. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. Since we got one online, maybe I'll still have to do this by voice vote. Misha?
Yes?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I,
Troy?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes?
I say.
John?
Yes.
And me, yes. Thank you, everybody.